welcome to this deep dive. Today, we're embarking on a journey into some really timeless wisdom, drawing insights from ancient parables. We've put together, well, a really insightful collection for you, specifically looking at which translates roughly to 10 stories of wisdom. Our mission for you, the listener, is to sort of unearth these profound nuggets of knowledge, these surprising insights that are hidden in what seem like really simple tales, offering you, hopefully, a shortcut to understanding some pretty deep truths about life and, yourself.
Yeah, and what's truly fascinating here is how these stories often boil down to their absolute core, still manage to convey incredibly complex philosophical ideas and life lessons. And in such an accessible way, too. They aren't just, narratives you listen to. They're more like potent prompts for reflection, really crafted to spark those aha moments about life, perception, maybe personal growth. So throughout this deep dive, we'll unpack each one. We'll invite you to think about what it truly means for your own journey.
Okay, so to begin our exploration, it feels right to start with a story that touches on something pretty universal: suffering. This first tale from our collection is called The Mustard Seed.
Right, so the story opens with a really poignant scene. There's a tearful widow. She's kneeling before Buddha, clutching fresh flowers. Her heart is just shattered by the recent death of her child. And Buddha, known for his deep serenity, doesn't immediately offer, comforting words. Instead, he makes a rather unexpected request. He asks her for a single mustard seed.
A mustard seed, okay.
But, and here's the catch, with a very specific condition. It has to come from a home that has never, ever been touched by death.
Wow. A home untouched by death. That's quite a condition. How does she even react to that?
Well, filled with maybe a tiny glimmer of hope, the widow sets out on her quest. She travels door to door through this rustic village. But with every knock, every conversation, a heartbreaking pattern starts to emerge. She finds grief in every single home, sorrow etched on every face she meets. She talks to parents who've lost children, spouses who've lost partners. Everyone, exactly. Children who've lost parents. The realization slowly dawns on her that death isn't some solitary burden she alone carries. It's inescapable. It's universal. It's part of the human condition, something everyone, everywhere experiences. So she returns to Buddha, her hands empty, but her heart now holding a very different kind of understanding.
So what does Buddha say then, when she comes back empty-handed?
He then gently guides her to understand this profound lesson of impermanence. The idea that all things are fleeting, and also the shared nature of suffering. This powerful story really highlights that sorrow, while it feels intensely personal, often isolating in the moment, it's also a deeply communal human experience.
Right.
And what's truly powerful here is realizing it connects us rather than isolating us. It reminds us we're all part of the same sort of tender fabric of life and loss.
That really invites us to think about a powerful shift in perspective, doesn't it? When you find yourself caught up in what feels like totally isolated pain, just recognizing that grief, that loss, are actually collective experiences. That can be the very first, maybe transformative step towards healing, realizing you're not truly alone in your suffering. Okay, so from that universal nature of suffering, let's maybe shift gears to a story exploring what cannot be touched or taken, something fundamentally untouchable. This one, also from 10 Stories of Wisdom, is called The Moon Cannot Be Stolen.
Okay, picture this scene. A masked thief, cloaked in shadow, sneaks into a humble Zen master's hut late at night. The thief is bold, threatening, waving a drawn sword, demanding treasure. But the master, he remains absolutely motionless, completely unafraid, just sits there. The thief gets more and more frustrated by this calm stillness, tries to sort of grab at the master's mind, maybe intimidate him, find some hidden stash, but the master just smiles. And with this profound simplicity, he says, "You cannot steal the moon."
You cannot steal the moon. Wow, that's such an enigmatic, beautiful line. What does the thief do? What impact does that have?
Well, the thief is just kind of disarmed by the master's unwavering calm. He slowly lowers his sword, and as the master continues to radiate this deep peace, he starts to explain the concept of oneness, this idea that fundamentally everything is interconnected. It transcends material things. The thief is just awestruck by this insight. He drops his sword. He's transformed, not by force or fear, but by this sudden radical understanding, a truth far greater than any treasure he was looking for. And this story, it really makes us ask, what do we truly consider wealth? Or something even worth stealing? The moon, here, it symbolizes true wisdom, maybe inner peace. It can't be taken because it exists beyond material stuff, beyond external circumstances. It's about recognizing the intangible, the unassailable nature of profound truths that reside within us, always beyond the grasp of external threats.
Yeah, that really challenges us, doesn't it? To look beyond the superficial,
Right.
beyond the things that can be physically grabbed or taken away. It suggests that our true essence, our inner peace, our wisdom, it's utterly untouchable by external threats and desires. It's always there, just waiting to be recognized if we, shift our gaze inward. Okay, our next set of stories from the 1920 Verder Dynahan digs into the power and sometimes the difficulty of keeping an open mind. Let's start with the empty cup.
Right, this is a pretty well-known one. A scholar, his mind just overflowing with scrolls and theories, comes to a master looking for wisdom. He's so full of his own knowledge that as the master prepares tea, the scholar just talks nonstop, pouring words, concepts, one after another into the master's teacup. So much so that the tea starts spilling over onto the floor.
That's such a striking image, isn't it? That overflowing cup. So what does the master do?
The master calmly stops him and states very directly, "Your mind is like this cup." The scholar, faced with this simple yet really deep truth, just sits there humbled. Then the master takes the overflowing cup and literally empties it out. Only then does he pour fresh tea, saying, "Now I can teach you." This story beautifully illustrates that true learning needs humility. It needs a willingness to consciously let go of preconceived ideas, even existing knowledge. You have to create that essential space for new understanding to actually take root.
It really makes you wonder, how often do we approach new information or a new conversation, maybe a new experience, with our own cup already full? We show up with our biases, our assumptions, our existing knowledge, often leaving no room for anything genuinely new to get in. To truly absorb fresh insights, to really hear something, we first need to be open and receptive, ready to maybe unlearn before we can truly learn. All right, our next story gives us a powerful reminder to broaden our horizons, both intellectually and experientially. This one is The Frog in the Well.
Yeah, this tale features a little green frog living quite comfortably inside a stone well. From his extremely limited viewpoint, he boasts nonstop to passing birds about the endless sky he can see. He's utterly convinced his small circle of vision is the whole universe. He genuinely thinks he's seen it all, knows it all.
He sounds pretty confident in his self-imposed little world. So what happens when the birds, who presumably know a bit more, offer him a different view?
Exactly. The birds, seeing his conviction but also his obvious confinement, invite him to come see the ocean, an experience way, way beyond his current understanding. And the frog, maybe a little bit curious despite his boasting, actually climbs out of the well for the first time ever, and then he sees it. The vast, boundless sea, endless waves, the sight he had never, ever imagined.
Wow, what does he do then?
He just croaks, not boastfully anymore, but in utter, profound amazement, completely humbled by this boundless world he never knew existed beyond his well. This story speaks so powerfully to the danger of a limited perspective and the vital importance of seeking experiences, seeking knowledge beyond our immediate surroundings. Our reality, it turns out, is often severely constrained by our familiarity, by what we've always known or seen.
This story really powerfully invites you, the listener, to constantly challenge your own assumptions, your definitions of what's possible or what is known. Are you maybe like the frog in the well, content with a small puddle of knowledge when there's this whole ocean of insights and experiences waiting? It's a great reminder to actively step outside our comfort zones and truly embrace new perspectives. Okay, let's shift gears now to stories that invite us to look beyond the obvious, to discover where real treasure and perspective might actually lie. First up from our collection, The Finger Pointing at the Moon.
Right. In this simple but really profound story, a disciple is watching his master. The master is pointing at a painted moon on the wall, trying to indicate something significant to the disciple. But the disciple, instead of looking at the moon itself, just fixates intently on the master's finger, completely ignoring the object being pointed to.
That is such a common human thing, isn't it? We get so caught up in the details or the method rather than the core message itself.
Precisely. And the master, seeing this very common tendency, just laughs gently and shakes his head. After a moment, the disciple finally looks beyond the finger to the moon itself, and then he smiles. This quiet recognition dawns on him. He finally gets it. Teachings, or the words used to convey them, they only point to reality. They aren't the reality itself. True wisdom, the story shows us, lies in understanding the core reality, not just the symbols or words used to talk about it.
And the deeper implication here feels particularly relevant today, In our information-saturated world, it's so incredibly easy to get distracted by the finger. The media, the commentary, the method, the messenger. and completely miss the moon, which is the actual truth or insight, the deeper meaning. This story is like a timeless warning. Focus on the essence, not just the surface stuff. Okay, our next story is The King's Missing Ring. This one offers a surprising twist about where true treasure might really be found.
Okay, picture a grand courtyard. A king is proudly showing off his golden ring, and then he announces a contest to all his subjects. He then takes a whole bunch of identical rings and scatters them among the crowd. Naturally, everyone immediately starts scrambling, frantically pushing, shoving, trying to collect as many rings as possible. They believe, that more rings mean more treasure or maybe more favor from the king.
That frantic scramble for what we think is valuable feels so familiar, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. But amidst all this chaos, one humble man just stands completely still. He isn't scrambling, he's simply gazing with a quiet smile at his own ring, the one he already has on his finger. The king, watching this whole scene, walks straight over to the humble man and crowns him, teaching everyone there a profound lesson. Stopping the external search often reveals the treasure that is already within you. What's really fascinating here is how the story just exposes the illusion of scarcity and that constant external search for what might already be inside us. True treasure, more often than not, isn't something you need to go out and acquire. It's something to be recognized, appreciated for already being there. It really challenges our whole idea of what it means to be missing something, doesn't it?
Yeah, it invites a really profound question for you listening right now. How often are we chasing things we actually already have? Or maybe endlessly looking for external validation or happiness or fulfillment, when the answer, the real treasure, is already within. It's such a powerful lesson in contentment, in recognizing your inherent self-worth, acknowledging the richness of your own being without needing to constantly get more from the outside. All right, now for a story that truly shifts how we label and perceive events in our lives. The Farmer's Luck.
This story starts really simply. A farmer's horse runs away. His neighbors immediately come over, offering condolences, calling it bad luck. The farmer just listens, kind of unmoved by their judgment. Then the very next day, the horse returns, and it brings with it several magnificent wild stallions. The neighbors, quick to change their tune, now cheer and declare it good luck.
So right away, we see how quickly these judgments can flip, and the story doesn't stop there, does it?
Not at all. There's another twist. The farmer's son, eager to break in one of these new wild horses, goes for a ride and tragically breaks his leg. The neighbors once again shake their heads, lamenting, calling it bad luck.
Oh boy.
But then comes the final twist. Shortly after, the army comes through the village, conscripting all the able-bodied young men. They pass right by the farmer's injured son because he's unable to serve. And the neighbors, yet again they cheer, calling that good luck. And throughout all these ups and downs, these shifting fortunes, the farmer just smiles, completely unmoved by the changing labels. His quiet wisdom teaches us that events in themselves are neutral until we slap a label on them. This tale really encourages critical thinking about how we assign meaning to life's twists and turns, and it highlights the profound impermanence of our judgments. What looks bad one minute might open the door to something unexpectedly good later on, and vice versa.
This offers such a profound lesson in perspective, and really in emotional regulation too. We tend to instantly label things as good or bad, and then let those labels dictate how we feel. But often, the true meaning or consequence of an event only unfolds much, much later, if it ever does fully. Adopting this kind of mindset can genuinely help you navigate life's inevitable roller coasters with a more stable, balanced outlook. Okay, our next story offers a pretty radical and maybe deeply liberating approach to our emotions. It's called The Guest House.
Yeah, this story paints a vivid internal picture. Imagine a door opening to a tidy room, and visitors start to arrive. But these aren't people. There are emotions: joy, sorrow, anger, fear, all of them. Joy comes dancing in, laughter echoing. Sorrow trudges in, head bowed, heavy and quiet. Anger storms through, slams the door, its presence forceful, demanding.
So these often difficult, sometimes overwhelming emotions are presented as guests. What does the host representing our inner self do with them?
The host, representing our inner self, smiles calmly and welcomes all of them. Each emotion, no matter its nature, is greeted, acknowledged, not resisted or pushed away. The host welcomes them all, not as intruders to be banished, but as temporary guests, maybe even as teachers on the path. This, really, at its core, is about radical acceptance of all emotions, fully embracing and allowing all feelings without judgment, without resistance. Viewing them this way allows for much greater emotional freedom, more resilience. It's about consciously making space for everything that arises within us.
What's really powerful here is the invitation it extends to you. Imagine treating your emotions, even the really uncomfortable ones like fear or sadness or anger, as visitors who actually have something valuable to teach you. This simple shift in mindset can fundamentally transform your relationship with yourself, moving you from being maybe a victim of your emotions to being an engaged observer who learns from them. That unlocks true emotional freedom.
Okay, finally, we have a classic tale that illustrates the fragility of power and external glory. The Sword of Damocles. So the story introduces Damocles. He's standing in this lavish throne room, just pure joy on his face. He's surrounded by gold, courtiers, seemingly at the absolute peak of luxury and influence as he sits there on the king's throne. It really paints a picture of ultimate worldly success, carefree pleasure.
Sounds like he has it all, right? Enjoying the good life. But there's always a catch, isn't there?
For a moment, it seems like he does. But then he happens to glance up. And his entire perception of joy just shatters. Directly above his head, he sees a sharp sword, and it's hanging precariously by a single thin horsehair.
Oh, wow.
His joy vanishes instantly. He trembles with fear, completely overshadowed by this hidden, constant threat. He immediately begs the king to swap back, desperate to escape the throne and its terrifying burden. This story teaches so profoundly that power without inner security is hollow. It's ultimately unsustainable. External splendor, position, it means very little when it's constantly overshadowed by fear or anxiety about losing it all. True peace, true contentment, it reminds us, simply cannot be found in external trappings that are always vulnerable to collapse.
Yeah, that's such a vivid reminder, isn't it, that true peace and contentment don't come from external things like wealth or status or power, especially if they come with that underlying fear of losing them. Instead, true peace really emerges from a state of mind that's free from that fundamental anxiety, that attachment. It's a powerful call to cultivate genuine inner security over just outward show. Wow, what an incredible deep dive into these 10 simple yet profoundly wise stories from 10 stories of wisdom. We've seen how they kind of peel back the layers of conventional thinking to reveal these deeper truths about suffering, perspective, learning, and what truly constitutes real wealth and peace. From accepting shared pain to emptying our minds for new wisdom, from seeing emotions as guests to understanding the true nature of luck, these tales offer really practical pathways to inner transformation.
These timeless stories remind us that life's greatest lessons are often disguised in the most ordinary moments. And that transformation often begins not with gaining something new, but with seeing what's already there. Or maybe courageously letting go of what no longer serves you. Perhaps the most simple practice that truly turns pain into power, or confusion into clarity, is just that willingness. The willingness to see every experience, every emotion, every piece of information as a potential teacher. So as you reflect on today's deep dive, maybe ask yourself, what story resonated most deeply with you? And what cup might you be willing to empty in your own life right now to make space for genuine wisdom?